Okay, good yard to everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful Pesach. And now we're on the home stretch to our Siyum, Be'ez Hashem, in about 5 weeks, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. Okay, we're up to Tesvav Amid Aleph. We're describing we're introduced to the carbon mincha of the Sotah called the Minchas Kinaos. But along the way, the Gemara brought in the protocol of bringing in mincha. And it said that on 4 lines down, Karva Kaimitz Shireh Nechalim. Once the Kaimitz was burnt, we spoke out the 4 avodas of the mincha, which parallel the 4 avodas of a dam carbon, was the Kamitza, the Nesina of Kabbalah, the bringing over to the Mizbeach, and the Zrika, or the burning of the Kaimitz, which is parallel to the Zrika. Once that transpired, then it's Muta, the Shirayim were Muta. Minalam, what do you know? This from the Chsiv, it says, the Hiktir HaKoines as Karasa, and then it says, the Chsiv, and I says min mincha li Aaron Luvanov, right? And the says mincha, that's left over for the mincha, goes to Aaron and his sons. That's left over after the Kaimitz. Right? Lemar Kedisle, according to one man, at one point in time, Lemar Kedisle. In other words, at which point in time does it become muta to eat the shirayim? It's when the kaimitz is considered brought. When's the kaimitz considered brought? A kaimitz may say mata shirayim. At which point ba'achila? At which point in time does the mata shirayim ba'achila? Rabbi Chanina Omer mishetishleit b'ha'ar. That's when, because the or takes part of it, begins to burn. Rabbi Yochanan says a later stage. Rabbi Yochanan Amar mishetatsis ha'or beruba. It has to burn the majority of the kaimitz. So Rabbi Chanina is more makel, that it's an earlier time when it begins to burn. Then it says, "Reshoyin lakoyan liting l'toicha yayin v'shemen v'davash." The kohen can eat it any which way. We're going to see in a second, not exactly, but they could put it wine, they could put shemen and davash. Sounds like a racist. My taima hamakra l'mashcha. The pasuk says that that the kohen kahanim should eat it l'mashcha, which means in a very glorified way, in a gedula, the gedula kederach shamalachim v'aychman like malachim eat. However, there is a limitation, right? It can't eat it because they can't eat it chametz. They can't make it chametz. It says they should not go ahead and bake chametz chelkam. And Rashi says you should read it backwards, right? Chelkam vir chelik lo yisei afa chametz. You shouldn't bake chametz, so therefore they're not allowed to. Amr of Shimon ben Lakish afilu chelkam lo yisei afa chametz, as we just said. We said let's look back at the lashon of the it's on the Amid days, and we're told at which point in time. Back to the Mishnah, guys, on Yudal Amid Aleph. 2 lines from the top. Kol menachas tu shemen u'levayna. All menachas require shemen and levina. V'zu en tu loy shemen v'loy levana. The minchas kanais neither. Kol menachas boyis min achitin. All menachas come from chitin. V'zu bo min asayrin, and this comes from sayrin. Minchas oimer afal pisha boy min sayrin. He hoists about goresh. It's fine barley flour sifted 13 times. V'zu bo kemach whole wheat flour. Just so her actions were the actions of an animal, so to her carbon is the carbon of an animal, because soirin was animal food. Now it's mashma over here that any chitin, any carbon from chitin wouldn't require shemen and levina, which is not true. We know there are a few carbonis that are based upon a person's financial status. The carbon oil of yored would go up and down. Is how you bring the carbon. You know, it's if you're rich, you can bring a kevesh. If you're poor, you bring birds. If you're really poor, you bring soilis. Now that soilis is called a minchas chayta, and that in fact also does not have shemen and levina. So l'chayra, it's a little shver. That's the Gemara's problem. Back by us. Says the Gemara, the chol menachas tuna shemen levina. Is it really true that all menachas require shemen and levina? The mincha chayta of the oil of yored. Someone goes to the base of Mikdash Tamei. Someone shuas bitoy. Right. The Rachmana Amar la yisa Allah shemen. You should not place on it shemen v'layita levina. Do put on levina. So l'chayri, you see that Not only the only mashma from the Mishnah, the only carbon that does not require shemen and levina would be the carbon oimer of the carbon of a Sotah. It's not true. You see that it doesn't require it. It says Mahachi Kamar. And we're fine tuning. Kol menachas tuna shemen levina. Every carbon needs shemen levina. Ubois menachitim, and all of them come from chitin. Ubois soilis, and they come fine flour. Minchas chayte afa pisha ena tuna shemen levina, even though it does not require shemen levina, bo menachitin ubois soilis. It would come from chitin, it would come from soilis. So in other words, it doesn't have the shemen and levona component, but it does maintain the soilis, the fine flour component, and it also maintains the ingredient component of wheat. Minchas oimer af al pisha hu bo min asayrin, even though it needs sayrin, nonetheless tuna shemen levina, it has that component. The minchas oimer, which was brought just 8 days ago, would require shemen levina. Hu bo geres, it has to be fine sifted flour. Zu Eina and zu meaning the minchas chayta loy eina tuna loy shemen loy levina uba min asayrin uba kemach. It comes from sayrin and it comes from whole wheat, not fine flour. In other words, so in two ways, it's not like what, like the typical mincha. One, it's sayrin, and two, it's not soilis. And three, it doesn't have shemen levina, right? So therefore, we're just elaborating more upon it. That when the Mishnah meant, what the Mishnah meant was focusing on more on the sayrin part, vis-a-vis the carbon mincha v'chayta. So good, it doesn't have the shemen levina, but it would have soilis. Tanya, Reb Shimon. Bedinhu shetei minchas chayta tuna shemen levina. Really, the minchas chayta, the person who went to the Beis Hamikdash tamei, the person who made a shvuas bitoy and was over on the shua, right? Then he really should have to pay. Why? Why should we allow this guy to get off cheap? He's getting off cheap, right? Shemen levina costs money. He's getting off cheap. Why does it not require shemen levina? Because we don't want his carbon to be muhudar. We don't want it to be muhudar in a very, very nice way. But who in reality, chatas chaylev tuna nesachim. Chatas chaylev, again, a typical chatas is called a chatas chaylev because it's juxtaposed next to eating chaylev. Eating chaylev is a chi of karis, the shoygeg is a chi of chatas, and therefore the typical chatas is called a chatas chaylev. And really it should need nesachim, which would be, again, accompanying the carbon. The libation that accompanies, it should be required, that it shouldn't gain. Why does it not require it? That the carbon should not be what? Muhudar. The chatas of the mitzayra and his asham, nonetheless, tuna nesachim. You know why? Again, the mitzayra, after on this 8th day, after it being sequestered for 7 days after his body shave, right, with being on the 8th day, it being 3 karbanis, an oila, a chatas, and an asham, and this asham was accompanied with what? With oil. Right? Tuna nesachim, it would require nesachim. The reason why the chatas and the asham do need the sachim is because they're really not for an aveira. You can ask me a second, sorry, they do an aveira? Is it really so? You tell me that the mitzayra is squeaky clean. From Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omer Rabbi Yonason, al shiva devarim negoyim bayim. 7 things would cause the Gemara in Erchin tells us lashon hara, shvichas damim, shua shav, gilei aroyas, gastas ruach, gezel, and saras ayin. Those are the 7 things, right? And you see, so the chayyim is the mitzayra. It must be that what he did something wrong. So, and for the Gemara, Hasam min negoyim hu de'chapelei. His kapara did not come from the carbon. His kapara came from the nega, came from the tsaras. And kimaisi carbon, why is he bringing a carbon? Because again, he's mechus kapara, right? He's mechus kapara. We're on the bottom of Tesvav Amud Aleph. Bottom Tesvav Amud Aleph. Okay? Because mechus kapara, so therefore, since it doesn't come for a chait, therefore you do bring the sachim. Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, the chatas nazir tuna nesachim. The chatas of a nazir should need nesachim. After all, he didn't do an aveira. L'sheina bala chait. And the Gemara savla kreba loza kapra, which we all know by now. Damar nazir nami chaytehu. A nazir is called a chayter. Again, this is speaking about a nazir that's a tamei. Usually, that's because he's extending his nasiris, and the nazir tahar maybe is not a chayter. And we say, no, really, Nazir Torah is the chayte. Go back if you're interested. There's a place, this Nazir base on the base, the Mamaskel, the Amai. It's very good, Marmakim, but I got a lot to do this evening, so I can't elaborate. Says the Gemara, says the Gamliel, right? Shame that she did a Maisa Behema, she brings Maisa Behema, she brings Soirin. Tanya, Amalem Rabbi Gamliel, Chacham, Soifrim, Anichuli, and Raj Shenu Kimin Chaymer, leave me, and I'll go ahead. And Kimin Chaymer means like it's a class that would hold the cholok together. I can dash in this Amid Beis. The Shamil Remeya, the Ka'amar, her Remeya said, Ki Hechilasei Ma'adane Oilam, she fed her conspirator, her adulterer with her paramour is the word. Fed her what? Ma'adane Oilam, fed him good food. Lefikach Karbona Michael Behema, therefore a carbon is Michael Behema. Amalei Hatene Chashira Aniya Michael Behema. That's whether she can afford it. If she's wealthy, what happens if she's poor and she can't afford it? I'll tell you why she goes ahead and brings a curb Michael Behema. Not because what she fed him, but Kishem Shemaiseh Maisa Behema, King Karbona Michael Behema. So too the carbon is Michael Behema. You look at Rashi. Rashi says, Elhi Osta Maisa Behema, Shefkira Atzma L'Tashmis. She was right, and she was mafka herself for relations. Lemi She'ena Ben Zuga. So the one that was what? She'ena Ben Zuga, the one who's not her Ben Zug. There's the Ramban unbracious guys in the pasuk v'hoyu lebasar echad. Rashi says al ken yazav ishas avavima v'dava v'yishlei v'hoyu lebasar echad. Rashi says through the creation of the child. Shleisha shutfim ba'adam. There are three partners in the creation of man. Right, a husband gives the white parts, the woman gives the red parts, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu gives the neshama. The Ramban asks, it's mashma al ken yazav ishas avavima v'dava v'yishlei, something unique to a human being. If the making of a child is where it's completed, animals also have children. So Ramban speaks out beautifully that it's the way animals, the male goes to many, many females. You know, the mating season, there's no special relationship. The special relationship that exists between Ish v'Isha is what is v'hayil basar echad. And that's pshat over here. If Ish ain't a ben zuga, she went to someone's not a ben zuga. This is not the one she's supposed to have that special relationship with. Obviously, she's capable of having relations with him. He's a human. He's a Homo sapien. He's a human being. But so Ben Zuga means she's undermining the whole Yabasa Echad. She's undermining the whole marriage, right? By being mafka herself. That's a Maisa Behema. So it's Kishmak guys. What's a Behema like? A Behema goes to multiple men, right? A Behema goes to multiple men. There's no special, unique relationship. With that Rambam, we have a beautiful shot why it's Maisa Behema. Why exactly it's Maisa Behema. I like that very much. Says the Mishnah, Hayamevi Pile Shalcheres, going through again the protocol of the Mitzayra, they would bring Pile Cheres. Pile is a kois of mayim. It's the kois of water. The nice one is toicha chatzi like mayim. How much they put in a half a leg? That's double. That's a half a leg. It's a double revius. Mena kiyar. And where did the water come from? It came from the kiyar. It came from the kiyar in the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Yehuda says revius. You won't put in a half. You put in a quarter. And kashem shemayit. Just like your memayit in the ksav and the Megillah, as we're going to see later on, so too your memayit the mayim, don't give a half but give a quarter. Nichnas the heichal, they bring her into the heichal. Upanali amina, you return to the right. Umakam hayasham ama alama. There was a place he would go into the heichal. Let's say she went in, and there would be a place there that was an ama alama. The tavla shel shayish. And there was a tile of marble, the tabas hayakavuaba, and there was a ring that was affixed to this tile. And kushmagia, when you pick it up, the nitel offer mitachteha, and they would take the dirt from underneath this tile, the noisna, and they would put it kadesh yir alamayim. They put enough that the dirt can be appear on the water. Shnemar umina offer sheyia bekarka hamishkan, from the offer that will be in the karka of the mishkan. Yikach hakayin v'nois alamayim. The kohen should take it and put it on the water. Okay, now this pili shalcheres, is it new? Is it old? Let's see. The Gemara discusses it. Tana pili shalcheres chadasha. It's got to be a new kli. Rabbi Yishmael. These are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. My time, Rabbi Yishmael. Gomer kli mi mitzayra. He learns because they were shava kli from mitzayra. Ma'alahal and cheres chadasha. Just like mitzayra, it's a brand new kli cheres. Afkan cheres chadasha. So too, it's a cheres chadasha by the Sotah. And how do you know by the Mitzayra that it was a new Kli? The Chsiv, it says, V'shachares atzipur achas el Kli cheres, right? Then you would go ahead and shech the bird, ha'achas el kli. This is when the mitzvah is outside the machne, and it says you would shech the bird el kli cheres to a kli cheres. You would shech the bird el kli cheres and al mayim chayim and ma mayim chayim, just like the water. This water is mayim chayim. The chayim means it's anew. It came from a fountain, but it's never done malacha. Af kli, so the kli of mitzayra shlei nasa b'malacha. So you have a hekesh mitzayra from the kli to the mayim, just like the mayim is brand new kaviyachol, because you didn't do right. You didn't use it for anything. So to what? The kli is a brand new kli, and now you're learning gzei b'shava. Kli from what? From mitzayra. Just like mitzayra is a new kli, so too by Sotah it's a new kli. Fred the Gemara, once you're learning from what? From mitzayra, it says the Gemara, so why could you use water from the kiyar? If you're telling me you're learning from mitzayra, just like mitzayra has to be water from a fountain, a flowing river, so some fountain, a live water, so too the Sotah water should have to be the same, since you're learning from mitzayra. On that, the Gemara answers, Ein achinami, Rabbi Yishmael achinami, like Rabbi Yishmael, it is mayim chayim. Why? Dam Rabbi Yochanan, may kiyar, the water of the kiyar, where did it come from? Rabbi Yishmael, may mayan hein, Ein achinami, it's may mayan. So in Ein achinami, the water used from the kiyar was in fact mayim chayim, similar to the kli. Chamayim mishari meimas hein. It comes from shar meimas. Now, guys, usually when you have a gezerah shava, that's it. Fred the Gemara, ikala mifrich. How could you learn out the chumrah of requiring a new kli from mitzayra? After all, mitzayra is not similar to Sotah, but mitzayra in that protocol that's done outside the machna, in addition to two birds and shechting one, a mayim chayim and a brand kli with mayim chayim, you need an eitz eres, a piece of cedar wood, the shnit talas, so on, and a red thread. So Amar Rabba says Rabba, Amakra, the pasuk is by a Sotah, V'lochach mayim kidoshim b'kli cheres, and it doesn't say V'lochach kli cheres b'nasam b'mayim. So it's mashma the kli that it says over here was a kli that you knew about. In other words, it says the following: V'lochach mayim kidoshim b'kli cheres. It could have said V'lochach kli cheres, take a kli cheres. Mashma a new kli cheres. It doesn't say that. It says you take the water and you put it in an existing kli cheres. What's that existing kli cheres? Kli sharmati loch kfar, a kli that I mentioned to you before, which is by mitzayra. Now the question is that I had a problem with. Why are you asking questions on the kal? It's not a memetzinu, guys. It's not a kal v'chaymer. It's gzerah shava. So look at the top taisus. Top taisus addresses the issue. Hasugya karav achabrei derava. The Amar Perak Hamapolis, Rabbi Yishmael. Kol gzerah shava sheina mufna kol ikar. Any gzerah shava that's not extra so much. You know, as we had mufna mitzad echad, mufna mishteit stadim. As long as it's not mufna completely, then lemidim, you learn them. However, umeshivim, you would ask a question, and thus the Gemara is going to, according to that opinion, since it's not mufna this gzerah shava, therefore you can ask a question on it. Good, very good. That's a nice idea. Okay. Says the Gemara Vaita. Amar Rava, lo shanu, according to the Chachamim, that you can use a new kli. You don't need a new kli. You can use an old kli that's provided. Only Rabbi Yishmael required a new kli. Ela shaloi nisachmu panav, that the old kli wasn't blackened. Av nisachmu panav, if the kli was blackened, then psula, then it'll be possible. My timer. The kli has to be similar to water. Ma mayim shaloi nishtanu, just like mayim is not changed. Af kli shaloi nishtana, so to the kli that wasn't changed. Taisus puts out that he doesn't know how do you know that the water didn't change. If we learn out from, since according to them you don't need mei ma'ayan, it could be mei mikvah. Mei mikvah is even if it's colored water is kosher for a mikvah. So if you look at the end of Taisus, it says v'nira dehachanami asmachta ba'alma hu v'leka ela psula d'rabbanan. It is only psul d'rabbanan was black. This is an asmachta ba'alma. It's not a limud. In fact, it would only be d'rabbanan. Boy Rava nisachmu ve'chziru l'tech kifshan. It became black and you put it into what? Into the kivshon. It became black, and you returned it to what? You turned it into the oven. So here's the shaila. Is it out of the ballpark and then back in the ballpark, or once it's out, right? We had this sugya throughout Shas, the sugya of dichui. Says Gemara, to kivshon eish from the stavlu. Mahu, mi amina kiven the itchi, since it was black, it couldn't be used. I tell him, kiven the hadar. Once you put it back in, you could use it. Tashma, Rabbi Elazar says, eitz erez ve'eza v'shnish salas shehivshul behem kupasai. Now you're going ahead, and these are things that you are using. What are you using this for? What are you using this for? Anyway, I think it must be Mitzayra. What are you using it for? I'm blacking out. What are you using this thing for? Yeah, using for the Mitzayra, okay? Now let's say you bent them, guys. Let's say you bent them. You put them behind you, right? And they're bent. When they're bent, it's considered like it's out of the ballpark. Now you can straighten them out, and nonetheless they're out of the ballpark. So we want to bring a raya. Once you're out, you're out. Even though, despite the fact that they're back in now, so who adin? It was out when it was black. You put the kli back into the kivshon. It should be back in. Once you're out, you're out. One more time. Eitz erez ve'ezav shnit halash shehivshul behen kupasei lachoirav. Where you went ahead, you put the box they were in, and it got bent. Rashi says they got bent. Psulin, they're puzzle. When you take them out of the box, you can straighten them out. But why do you have to say, once you're out, you're out? So who did over here? Let's say once you're out, you're out. It says, no. Hasam dik iklupe. There it got whittled away, it got peeled off. So it's loy nishtana. It doesn't go back to what it was before. By the kli that goes back before, maybe it's still viable. Why? Because it's usable. It was never changed. Hashenkin over here, it was changed, and therefore that's why it's possible. Okay, have a good evening.